For several hours, this man could not leave the phone booth because the sniper held him at gunpoint. Hello everyone, Dr. Fox. Today I'm going to tell you about the movie, The Phone Booth. Stu works for an advertising agency and is a fraudster. His whole life is based on lies. Right now, for example, he is trying to cheat another client. For him, people are just a resource that works for him or brings him money. Despite his supposed genius, for some reason our hero is still at the very bottom of the corporate ladder. The man has a wife named Kelly, whom he loves dearly, so much so that he walks into a phone booth every day to chat with Pam's girlfriend. You heard right, Stewie's a fucking traitor here. He helps Pam relax, and in return she sleeps with him. The funny thing about Stu is that he has his own phone, but he's afraid to talk to his wife in public, so he uses this phone booth for all his calls. Today is a special day because the pizza delivery guy comes up to Stu and says, "Here, some guy asked me to give you this message." Stu thinks it's a joke and tries to drive the peddler away. Then he starts talking on the phone again. Stu calls Pam and invites her to the nearest hotel, claiming that he has an important meeting there. He doesn't really have any meeting, he just wants to sleep with Pam. The girl feels this and refuses him. The man gets a little upset and ends the conversation. He just wants to leave, but a call comes in from an unknown number. The caller says that they are watching Stu and know everything about him, including his behavior and even what he talked about when he was with Pam. They threaten to tell Stu's wife everything, but the main character does not believe them and says, "Listen, leave me alone with your jokes. It's not funny." And then he ends the conversation. A minute later, the same man called again. In front of Stu, he dialed his mistress's number and told her that the man was married. Stu wasn't joking anymore. Meanwhile, a young woman began to break into the booth. She drummed her hands on the glass and asked to leave. The man didn't finish the conversation, so he let her go. The mulatto woman went to her friends and started crying. Meanwhile, an unknown caller demanded that Stu call his wife and tell her about his infidelity. The main character was seriously angry. He had already lost his mistress because of this scoundrel, but he did not want to lose his wife. Stu called his wife not to tell her about the betrayal, but only to warn her not to believe any men who call. After the call, he wanted to leave, but a voice warned him that if he left the booth, a sniper would shoot at him. The caller said he was watching through the scope of a sniper rifle. Stu didn't believe him. He said that if you shoot, a crowd will come running here and you will be arrested. I wish he hadn't said that. A moment later, the sniper fired at the toy robot. The most frightening thing was that people didn't care at all. That means the killer is right, Stu. Nobody cares about that. He said there were dozens of people in the booth before him, businessmen and politicians, all of whom, like Stu, kept secret information. Because of this, the killer dealt with them. The main character was just in a panic. He started to look around, but he didn't see anyone. The unidentified man said that he had killed 2 more people in the previous days, and if Stu misbehaved, he would be next. At that time, the prostitute girls called their pimp Leon. Leon demanded that Stu leave the booth immediately, and Stu offered to pay him to stay away. However, Leon ignored him and the man started banging on the glass in a panic. He even smashed the stall with his fist. The girls outside only encouraged him to deal with Stu. The sniper offered the hero some help, and Stu agreed. Who would have thought that his help would be to kill Leon? At first, the girls did not understand what had happened. They thought that the man just got sick. But when he fell, there was no doubt about it. The ladies decided that Stu had a gun, and it was he who shot Exeter. And at that moment, the sniper laughed, because for him it was just an ordinary game, and he found this situation quite comical. But Stu wasn't joking at all. He knew that any moment could be his last. The sniper did not let him out and watched him, even his breathing. Now our hero's whole life is in the hands of a stranger. What he will do next is so scary to even imagine. At that moment, Stu realized what he had done. He stealthily took out his phone and called the rescue service. The man tried to say that he needed help, but the sniper noticed, and it was not to be trifled with. The shooter shot at the hero, and another millimeter of Stu's life was lost. Meanwhile, the police arrived at the scene. They believed that Stu was armed, so they took aim at him. One more move and he would have been dead. Captain Adrami did not want to risk the safety of ordinary citizens, so he began the conversation without waiting for the negotiator. The caller on the other end of the line forbade Stu to divulge any information. He had to lie and tell the police that he had talked to psychologists. If he had survived, he would definitely have needed a therapist. Then, on the sniper's orders, Stu was rude to the officer and left. A group of people gathered around the scene, eager to see the unfolding spectacle. The live broadcast was shown on all TV channels. Stu became a local celebrity, but in a negative way. People thought he was a madman who locked himself in a room and shot people. Suddenly, the mobile phone rang. It was his wife. The sniper demanded that Stu pick up the phone immediately, but when he tried to refuse, the sniper threatened him, saying that if he did not answer the call, he would be killed. Without picking up the phone, Stu noticed his wife in the crowd of people and realized that she had not called. Then Stu realized that the sniper was playing a game with him and trying to get him to talk. The sniper, who was very amused by this, asked Stu about all his secrets and promised to let him go if he told them. Kelly went up to the captain and said that there was no psychologist for Stu, so he couldn't talk to anyone. Then the girl tried to contact her husband, but nothing helped. The situation became more complicated due to the fact that no one could track the location of the caller. All this happened because our smart man turned off all communication signals and cut all the wires. Stu realized that he could only help himself, so he decided to accept the challenge and tell the sniper all about his infidelities. In return, the sniper promised to let Stu go, but the man is lying. He does not intend to let go of Stay and begins to laugh maliciously. Already losing his last nerves, unable to bear such tension, Stu leaves the booth. Only then does the sniper notice such a movement. A red dot appears on Kelly's forehead. To save Jenya's life, Stu must return. An unknown man asks Stu to look up. There is a gun there. He says that even if Stu surrenders, he will still be put in jail. The man decides to check it out, but it's useless, so he leaves his fingerprints on the gun. Stu is cheating too. He pretends to bend over to examine the bruise. And then Kelly quietly calls, who, in turn, gives the phone to the captain. The man realizes that our hero is in great danger and is talking to the killer. He assumes that he knows everything, and tries to calm himself down somehow. Then the captain reported that the snipers had tracked them down. He made it clear that this nightmare would end soon. Meanwhile, the criminal suggested that Stu repent of all his sins. This was the second chance he was willing to offer. Steve realized that this was just another game and that he would not get out of it alive. The man had nothing to lose, so he confessed to all his infidelities and deceptions, and Rummy told him that the criminal had been caught. Without thinking twice, Steve began to threaten the sniper with a pistol. The killer said that if he was killed, he should take someone with him, and decided to take Kelly with him. Steve rushed to protect her and pulled out a gun, shouting at the top of his voice. After the screams, a shot rang out and Stiff fell to the ground. At that moment, the special forces broke into the sniper's house, finding all the evidence of their guilt, as well as his body. The police decided that enough was enough because he committed suicide. It turned out that he was a pizza delivery boy who, at the very beginning of the film, brought the hero's order, and he was rude to him in response. Then the main character received medical attention, and they were going to take him to the hospital. However, a man appeared out of nowhere. He told Stu that if he went back to his previous life, everything would happen again. Who knows who an outsider might be? Sometimes seemingly ordinary people have the most unusual secrets.